Welcome to Goppel's Oklahoma History Red River Wars video podcast. I'm starting off on our Plains Indian Wars page on the website. Don't forget to use that as a resource, as well as our study guide. The last two pages of the study guide have the Plains Indian Wars with identifications relating to our topic, and also on the last page, objectives 19 and 20, relating to Red River War and the killing of the bison. If we look at our PowerPoint, we're reminded that we're in the Texas Panhandle here with tribes like the Kiowa Apache, Mr. Tipiconic's Comanche tribe, and you'll notice conflicts all throughout 1874. We'll focus on the conflict at Adobe Walls that led to the Red River War, and we'll look at the Battle of Palo Duro Canyon. So if you look at Palo Duro Canyon, you'll notice a landscape that's similar to western Oklahoma in places like Red Rock Canyon, Roman Nose, and Quartz Mountain. The Texas landscape is much more dramatic than ours, but it's similar. If you look at locations like this area here, you can find where it's easy to hide, make attacks for hunters to try to kill prey. If we look at the map of Oklahoma and Texas together, you can see where the Kiowa and the Comanche were located, and where they range in the Texas Panhandle, where the Cheyenne and Arapaho are located on reservation, and where the Cheyenne were in eastern Colorado. 10 years before, in the 1860s, when with the Sand Creek Massacre, and before that the Shivington Massacre, armed whites killed the peace camps and the unarmed women and children of the Cheyenne. So we're in a different situation now. We're in the Texas Panhandle. It's 10 years later. The Comanche, in this case, are attacking white hunters, white bison hunters in the Texas Panhandle, trying to push them out. The bison hunters have been encouraged by the government, by businesses like the railroad companies, to clear out the bison, to push the Plains tribes onto reservation. At Adobe Walls, Comanche, like those under the lead of Chief Quanah Parker, we'll come back to Parker later, are unsuccessful in defeating the bison hunters. With the long-range hunting rifles and with the landscape, they're able to defend themselves against a larger number of Indians. This conflict, though, leads to the call for war by the Americans. If we take a time out and take a look at this ledger drawing, you can actually see the lines like on modern notebook paper of the paper they used. These are drawings made by the Plains tribesmen. You can see the traditional clothing like the eagle feather war bonnet of the Plains tribesmen. You can see the American troops. You can see blood and guts that we'd be used to today here. This portrayal is common for this area of this kind of event. Many of the battles were portrayed in art by the Plains tribes. So back to our story. After Adobe Walls, the American military makes a strong push to force tribes back on reservation and to subdue the hostile Indians, unwilling to live the life of a sedentary farmer who stays in one place and who gives up the life of nomadic bison hunting. So in the Red River War, they try to surround the Panhandle and flush out the remaining tribesmen. In the case of Palo Duro Canyon, the Indians are unable to mount much of a defense or an attack because they're distributed throughout the canyons too much. So the Americans are able to make an attack. They attack villages. They destroy the winter food supply. You may remember an example of this was Sheridan's winter campaign years before. They take out the pony herds for the most part. That takes out the tribe's ability to move, takes out their ability to fight, to hunt. This decimates the tribes, and this will eventually lead to the capitulation, the surrender of tribes like the Comanche under Chief Quanah Parker. He goes to Fort Sill, and he surrenders near where modern-day Lawton is today. He actually lived quite a long life and famously became a significant businessman and rancher in the area. Quanah Parker also is the son of Cynthia Ann Parker, who was taken as a captive as a young girl, so he's actually of mixed ancestry. And there's a profile of his mother in your textbook. If we take a quick detour to YouTube, you can track this down for yourself. Look for The Searchers 13. It's a clip from the John Ford film The Searchers, and it portrays a fictional version of the Parker story. John Ford was a famous director of Western films in the 1950s. He started in the 1930s literally with John Wayne. Some of you know that actor. A lot of you probably don't. This is their greatest film in many ways. It's their darkest film. It's a modern Western. It tackles racism and stereotypes. John Wayne, instead of playing the typical hero, plays a stern, dark character. He's chasing after his niece, who's been captured by the Indians. She's lived among them for years, so when he finally finds her, he can't decide whether he wants to save her and bring her back home or kill her, because now he sees an Indian. So that's the conflict. Like I said before, it points a real focus towards the... Interesting interruption there. Towards the stereotypes portrayed in film, in Western film usually, and this inherent racism among whites, even of the era of the inferiority of the Indians. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the clip, if we can make this work in our film selection here, and maybe it'll encourage you to watch it yourself. And the whole movie. The movie itself inspired George Lucas of Star Wars fame in his original movie Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker's looking for his family. So let's take a look at the film clip real quick.
No, Ethan! No, Ethan! No, Ethan!
So with that clip, we're brought back to this question of what will happen next with the fictional character based on Quanah Parker's mother. Hopefully that drama was so overwhelming that you're going to want to watch the clip yourself and watch the film. On a serious note, ask your parents, ask your grandparents if they know John Ford. They'll most likely know John Wayne, and if they know the movie The Searchers, because that'll help give you perspective on the conflict in the Southern Great Plains between the settlers, the army, the Americans, and the Plains tribes that live there. And if you watch the film, try to decide if you think the Comanche and other tribes are portrayed realistically or still with a lot of stereotyping. That's it for this video podcast on the Red River Wars. Hope you enjoyed it.